person, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're always hearing can't, negative words. And, all those things can have a very, very detrimental effect on that child, because that child may grow up to be an adult who would have low self-esteem. That child can grow to be an adult who is socially inept, because he can't face the public, he can't face the crowd. He doesn't have a voice of his own, because what he has always heard in his formative years are things that he's deficient in, and all the things he's not able to do. So even if he is highly talented, it will take extra effort to harness the innate talent he has in him, because he has lost the natural self-confidence that he should have. Even when he's doing so well in some other things, and people are saying, look, you have what it takes, you can go for it, he may not see himself in that light, because he has grown to understand that he is inadequate. And in the formative years of a child, it is very key for people to realize that whatever you do to that child then stays for long. So basically, trauma can manifest as, anxiety, low self-esteem, social isolation. It can also manifest as, even substance abuse, because when you don't have enough confidence to be yourself or to have a voice of your own, you always need something to, stimulate you to do what you should normally be able to do. Like facing a crowd, some people will say they may need to smoke something, or they may need to take some kind of substance to make them face the crowd and all that. It is coming from a place of trauma. Something has happened to them in their childhood that has not allowed them to be able to face the public in a way that is appropriate. Another manifestation of trauma may be anxiety disorders. You just can't explain why they're always anxious. Panic attacks, what people call panic attacks. You just see them breathing heavily all of a sudden. You just see them palpitating, sweating, tremors. They are restless for no reason, and there is no justifiable reason for all that. And sometimes it could also manifest as sleep problems, sleep disorders. They are just having sleep issues. Either falling asleep is a problem, initiating sleep is a problem, or maintaining sleep is a problem. That is also a characteristic feature. And then also you may also find them, being irritable and unnecessarily aggressive towards other people. Because it's like when they see what they are deficient in other people, they now become very, very aggressive towards people who they don't even know, or who have nothing to do with what happened to them. So they actually now, it's like a form of transferred aggression towards people who practically had nothing to do with whatever traumatic experience they've had. So basically, like you said, it can range from minor symptoms or minor manifestations to major manifestations. And of course, at the extreme end of the spectrum, you now have depression and possibly suicide or suicidal intention coming in at the extreme end of the spectrum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stronghold. Do you have any comments, any questions?
Yeah, this is interesting. At this point in time, when we talk about this trauma, there's something that happens to us in this part of the globe. We kind of see some of these things as a bit too far-fetched, So if I would like for us to share experiences, people in the audience to let's just share experiences. Have you had any experience with trauma, and then possibly share some of the stories that came in during the week. One of them was this lady. I shared it in my video during the week that there's a lady that, as a kid, she was coming back from school, and with the excitement of trying to give her mom gist of what happened while she was on her way back, she ran into her mom and her friends having a conversation, and then she just went in on them. She didn't say hi, she didn't greet them, and she just went, "Mommy, this happened, that happened," and one of her mom's friends just yelled at her and told her, "Shut up, don't ever talk when you see 2 or 3 people talking." Her mom didn't say anything. Her mom didn't validate her in any way. And for her, that was a defining moment for her. She was never able to speak in public anymore. It affected her social life, affected her participation in class while in school, and a lot of other things that have continued in her life. Personally, I want to share something that I think is kind of was a traumatic event. I lost my mom my biological mom. I lost my biological mom very, very early in life. I think I was about a year, 6 months, or thereabout. But I was basically an infant when my biological mom died. She died during childbirth, and then because I didn't have that, I didn't have a present mother figure. All the figures around me were aunties. They were young babes. They were sisters. They were cousins. There was no mother figure. You know, even when my dad wanted to get married again, he was bringing babes that he wanted to get married to. So I grew up just seeing all women as just the same. I'm never able to tell the difference in age when relating with women. And it happened that while dating, I found out that I have had reasons to date more of. Uh, I'm not sensitive to age generally, so I think it's part of trauma. But then, how would you analyze such a situation? Before we take I don't know if Dr. Dogo is still online to see how he can start by analyzing me before we open the floor to the audience so that they can share their own experiences. Because I realize that these traumatic events range from the domestic front to the church to school to several places where people come in contact with traumatic events, and it kind of redefines their life. So, Dr. Adogo, if you are there, could you please do me the honors of analyzing my own situation before we open the floor to the audience, please?
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, I think in your own experience, the first 5 years of a child's life, they're very key because at that point in time, a lot of things, are set in place, and nothing in the universe can replace maternal love. That is a constant because even from the moment of conception, your mom is the closest person to you. You have been exchanging a lot of things between the mother and the baby's, circulation. The placenta, is just a barrier through which, a lot of transmission, occurs. And then, the process of lactation, breastfeeding a child also creates a form of bonding, maternal and child bonding. So all that goes a long way, to do something about the child and the relationship with the mother. So if a mother is not present, at those early years, then it takes, the effort, the collective efforts of the family, the immediate family and the people around, especially the female figures around, to take the role of the mother to that child, because that is very, very essential, because it's around that age, between the first 5 years, that the child is beginning to be aware of his environment, able to recognize himself as male or female, able to recognize father and mother figures, aunties and uncles. And children being how they are very innocent. They play with other children, and you hear other people calling mommy, calling daddy and all that. So it's a bit difficult on kids who have lost either of their parents, very early. And because at that age, they are still not knowledgeable enough to understand the concept of death or bereavement. But they just know that something is probably missing from them, especially if that gap is not completely filled by an intentional woman who is ready to stand and take the role of a mother. And we know that that is usually very difficult because the person who may be taking up the motherly role may not even yet be advanced in age to be a real mother, like you said, maybe an auntie figure, maybe a younger person, or maybe somebody who has her own family and other responsibilities too. I may not be able to give the child all the attention that is required. So I believe basically that it does play a role in how they perceive women and their relationship with women, or people that are potential mother figures. Because sometimes a child, like from personal experience of what I've seen around, you see children who have lost their mothers early in life. They tend to think, oh, if their mom was around, maybe this would not have happened. If their mom was there, maybe they are ill in the hospital, for instance, on admission, and normally their mom would be with them in the hospital. But now an aunt has to go to work. She cannot leave her work to be at the hospital. She can only come during visiting hours and leave. And the child is probably seeing other children who are sick with their moms and all that. I won't necessarily call it a form of direct trauma, but it's actually doing something to the psyche of the child too, because the child has a sense of loss, that something is missing, especially when a mother figure is not present. But I think it is easier for the person to, outgrow it as they grow older and as they get familiar with life and they come to know the concept of death and all that. Because understanding that this person died, you now know that, okay, it's probably nobody's fault. It's a natural occurrence that comes to everybody at some point. And you now have a better understanding that people lose their fathers, they lose their mothers, things happen generally in life. But unfortunately, that happened. So they are coming from a place of understanding and they can possibly heal, especially with a lot of love and support. And when they notice that a lot of people are trying to fill that vacuum in their lives. So it's very possible for them to recover, quicker than people who were actually assaulted. Assault now in terms of maybe child abuse, maybe child trafficking, or maybe sexual molestation. Those are far more difficult to come out from, because those leave a lasting, deep, and stigmatizing effect on the psyche of the child. So I believe in your own case, being an adult now looking back, yes, you may still feel, there were certain things that, could have been different, but I'm sure you're not going to have the kind of pain or the kind of deep traumatic, deep-seated pain that people who were assaulted, or people who were taken away from their parents and sold into slavery or whatever, would experience. So I think yours is something that you can easily, come out from with a lot of support and love and an understanding partner as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I want to ask, Ambrose, are you there? Hi, Ambrose. Can you hear me? Okay. So pending when Ambrose is online and is able to communicate, does anybody have any experiences they want to share? Probably with somebody that that passed through a traumatic experience, or if you've passed, I have a story, but I'd like to, I'd like the conversation to go around. All right, pending. Okay, pending when, because I'm particularly interested in Ambrose. He's had a couple of stories he's told me. So I have a story. I remember when I was much younger. Can everybody hear me? Can you all indicate
Yes,
you
we
can
can
hear
hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. So I remember when I was much younger, I used to have this thing where friendship, I'm a very clingy type of friend. I'm very clingy, or I used to be very clingy. So my friendships, I used to carry that clinginess into my friendships, but I realized quickly that it wasn't reciprocated. I had back-to-back betrayals, even into adulthood. I remember one story, one time in particular. I had, okay, that's not for me. I had reached out to someone, an older friend, about something really traumatic that happened to me. And I was, I called him and I was in tears and I was just crying that this person did this to me. It was something deeply personal and very private. So I remember talking to this person and I just kept on telling, and I opened up and I just told him everything, believing that I was talking to my friend. Stronger, can you please that person? Believing that I was talking to my friend, right? And all of a sudden, when I was done talking to this person, amongst, I later began to hear the same story that I had told this person in confidence. I began to hear different versions of the story out there, and it was a very nasty experience. Imagine talking about something as sensitive and as private as molestation, and you're talking to somebody that, look, this person did this to me and this person did that to me. Really sensitive, and then it's on blast. Everybody, you're hearing different versions, even the one that you did not see, you are hearing it out there. So that experience was deeply traumatic because I'm a very, very private person. And it just made me extremely guarded. Now, these days, for you to get something personal out of me, you probably have to use like a forklift or something to get it out of me because of how that experience scarred me. For something as private as, like I said, molestation, and then you're telling somebody, and then before you know it, it's all over, it's everywhere. And, people are making fun of you and all that. It was really sad and really traumatic. So for me, that's one of the experiences I've had. And till date, I still find it hard to open up and just share things with people. It's really hard. So that has been one traumatic experience that is very nasty. But the healing, I've been able to, I had to work on my mind to let myself, I had to tell myself that, look, not everybody is like this person. Because the truth is, how are you going to live life? No man is an island. You need people for emotional support, right? You need people. So I had to talk to myself that just because one person behaved in a very, I'm trying to use a very clean word here, in a very nasty way, doesn't mean that every other person is like that. There will be friends that will be closer than family and that will treat your case like theirs. So I had to work on my mind to move past that incident. It's been difficult, but God has blessed me with friends that have been like family, that have been like closer than family, in fact, and that has helped to lessen the sting of that incident. So that for me was a really traumatic experience. I don't know if anybody else has stories or how they were able to, if anybody has stories of a traumatic experience or how they were able to deal with it. And really, if you can help us so that we learn how to move past experiences that are deeply traumatic.
Yeah,
Doctor,
Joy, Joy, before we before we go, I have a question, which was more traumatic for you? The molestation event or the fact that someone you trusted, ratted you out to the world? Which was more traumatic for you?
I think it was the fact that someone I trusted ratted me out
Wow.
because I was talking to that person. I was looking for comfort, right? I was looking for comfort. I was looking for somebody to lean on. And I felt really betrayed. It was even more, for me, it was more traumatic than the attempted, thankfully it was attempted, but it was still very traumatic, but the attempted molestation. So I was looking to this person who I felt was really close to me. So I was looking to this person for comfort, words of comfort, validation, and all that. And instead, what I got was not only writing me out to the world, but adding all sorts, garnishing the story. I mean, to what point exactly? So that for me, betrayal from a trusted person was more traumatic for me.
Wow. Well, thank you, Joy, for sharing. So what I glean from what you have said is uh when it's closer home, it's more traumatic when these events are closer home than if it's done by outsiders. Yeah. So yeah, let's take uh comments from the audience. Andy, are you here? You want to share?
All right, so yes, I'm here. The experience I had was when I was already grown. So yeah, it was traumatic for some time, but it wasn't as a child. I used to have an elder brother who was let me just say hard on me. So at one point in time, I had issues with him. And well, one of those things, I was feeling bad about it. Went to church, and while coming back, church members saw me like, oh, you look so sad, you look so dejected. Um, you could come over to my place. We could talk it over, see how I can help you out. Like, okay, good. So I went to his house and he talked with me, counseled me, fine. Told me I could come over if I had any issues. I could even sleep over at his place. No big problem. Went back home later in the evening, told my mom I was gonna go sleep at a brother's house. My mom was like, who's such a brother? Oh, it's a church brother. Okay, no problem. So I went to his place and then at night the brother started touching me in some form. I'm like, okay, so this touch is more than just normal touch. So I moved away. He moved closer, I touched, I moved away. And that was what happened all through the night, running from bed to the floor to the chair and so on. Then I was quite young. I was a primary school classroom teacher. So good thing, like nothing happened beyond that. Long and short of it was when I went back to work the next morning, I couldn't perform. I couldn't do anything. I was, I don't know what word to use, but I just couldn't work. And that happened for a period. So how I sustained myself was to immerse myself in more work, try to forget about what happened over the other night and face my work, prayed about it a lot. And after a while, I was okay. I was good. Some people said, I told a friend, and the friend said, oh, brother such and such, he's already known for that. But that's another story. But the bottom line was I was able to get through it, and it taught me a different kind of lesson. That's
Wow.
it. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much, Andy, for sharing such a deep story. Yeah, Dr. Adiogu, your hand was up.
Uh, I just wanted to quickly contribute about, a patient of mine who I met, I think, maybe 2 years ago or so, or probably last year. And the guy is about 28 years old, and he has about 3 or 4 younger siblings. And I noticed he's been coming to the hospital frequently. And I'll say frequently because, as a person of that age bracket, you shouldn't expect any major health conditions with them. He works as a professional, but from all the records I've been seeing, blood pressure going up, palpitations all the time, pulse rate always over 100 beats per minute. And everybody is wondering what is going on with this person. And, before I knew it, some of my other colleagues have recommended for him. They've been recommending for him to see the cardiologist. And the cardiologist has been giving one medication or the other. First, it was one medication. Then second time, it was another medication. The medications were just piling up for him. So it got to a stage when I saw an additional medication again. I had to privately call him and ask to see him, and we spoke. And I told him, look, I think something is off here because I don't believe you should have all these medical conditions at this your age. You're not obese. It's not, I know you don't drink alcohol from the record we have of you. You don't smoke, but something must be happening to you. Why is your health deteriorating so fast? And your cardiovascular health in particular is in danger. So I started asking him about his private life, and I got to find out that he had lost both parents in quick succession. And he became a father and mother to 4 other kids, even at that age. And he is responsible for their upkeep, their school, making sure that they don't lack anything, just trying to fit the role of a parent. And I started asking him, how many hours of sleep do you get at night? Sleep was a problem. How are you coping at work, your concentration and all that? It was beginning to decline. So I now had to tell him, I think what is happening to you may be stress related. And please, can you let me know when this incident happened? So he told me his mom had died like 5 years before. His dad died probably that same year too, but before their mom. And he told me that recently he's been having dreams of seeing his mom, seeing his parents as if they were still alive, as if they were not dead yet. Then that gave a clue that he had not processed the grief completely. He was not completely out of that grief period. And, the responsibility of suddenly becoming a father and mother to his younger siblings and taking care of himself too, with a very, very tasking professional life, was really telling on him. So I now knew that all the medications that, that were given to him, the cardiologist review, I don't think that's where the problem is. I think it's a deep-seated psychological thing that we need to tackle. So I invited the psychiatrist to see him. And the psychiatrist happens to be, of course, an elderly colleague who has been experiencing a professor in psychiatry for so many years. So he had a word with him, had a few sessions with him. And then, basically, it wasn't like they placed him on any special medications, but he had plenty of sessions of counseling and admonition. And gradually, he was improving because he was encouraged to socialize more. He was encouraged to, find ways of easing out stress more, because essentially he stopped moving out with friends. He stopped socializing himself. All he was just focused on is the immediate family, to get his siblings well, to make sure that they get all they need. So at the end of the day, we noticed that his health improved dramatically. And he was even weaned off most of those medications that, he was placed on initially. So that buttressed the fact that it wasn't necessarily a medical condition that he had. It was a psychological problem that could manifest as physical symptoms. Because it's important for us to take away that sometimes emotional stress, depression, or psychological problems can also manifest as physical problems, whereby you actually see the person, manifesting symptoms of an illness. But if you don't dig deep enough, or you don't have a high index of suspicion for an underlying psychological disorder, you may actually miss the management of that patient, and you just be doing trial and error on different medications, which have their own potential side effects too. So it's very essential that everybody, whether they are medical professionals or not, are quick to identify, psychological and emotional stressors on people and help them get the right intervention in a timely fashion. And that always produces a good outcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And you made very interesting points. How to manage trauma and traumatic experiences. Basically, how to receive. I don't know if I should say cure or healing. How to get a cure, or how to receive the healing for that. But before we go into that, I'd like to ask Ambrose, because I know Ambrose has a couple of experiences he'd like to share. So I don't know if Ambrose can hear me and he'd like to talk to us. Ambrose, are you there? Hello, Ambrose.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm here.
Hi, Ambrose.
Hi.
Hi. So I'd like you to talk to us. Do you have any traumatic experiences, or you've been with people? Because I know you are very you've had a lot of experiences in life, of which I'm privy to some. So I don't know if you'd like to share with us some experiences, traumatic experiences you had, and how you were able to come out of them.
Well, I don't know where to start. Perhaps I just start from when I was a little kid. I don't know if that's okay, because it's pretty long. I don't know. I know we don't have the luxury of time here.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Can you hear me? Go ahead.
Yeah. I'll start. All right, thank you. I'll start from, good evening, everyone. I'll start from, yes, I can hear you. I'll start from when I was a kid. I arrived this world not seeing my father. I was told that while I was still in the womb, he exited this earth. And so my own traumatic experience started from that point when I arrived, and I didn't see, there was no father figure to, carry me along and then introduce me to the world from a father's perspective. And so I had uncles, and in Africa, everybody, their families, immediate family becomes their primary concern. And so I found myself in the midst of people who were kind of making jest of me. Even uncles, sometimes where is a boy that is being raised by a woman? What can he possibly do? What can he possibly amount to? But I didn't give up. I didn't give up. I ever allowed that to affect me. I actually started having a very strong will from when I was very young. And so the child that was being raised by a woman actually captained the school football team. I became my school football team captain. From that point on, I represented my local government at my school at the local government level, and from that point to the state level in athletics, 100 meters and 200 meters. And I was still being raised by a woman. So I never allowed that, deficit to put my back on the ground. I continued, and with prayer. And my mom was a very, very strong Christian. Every Sunday, made sure I was available for both morning service and evening service, in church, Baptist church, way back in Delta State. So now, so when I got married, I now told God, look, I never grew up under a man to learn the ropes on how to be a father, how to be a husband. I didn't see my father, and my mother together as a couple. So how do I go about this whole journey? So I knelt down and I prayed to God. I said, now that I never grew up under a father, I need you to father me. I need you to help me to go through this journey successfully. And so after praying that prayer, I trusted God and kept going. And to the glory of God, this is my 21st year in marriage, and I never grew up under a man. So God has helped me thus far. And so that aspect of what would have been a traumatic experience, God handled it for me. God helped me. And so I have always learned to put my trust in God and never allow whatever people are saying to become a true definition of me. I strongly believe in myself, and I trust God always in all that I do. So that is for family, okay, so marital experience. Now coming to professional angle. When I started, I'm a voice. Hello. Did you say something?
Okay, you went off. You faded off for a bit there.
Where did you, at what point, please?
Okay, I don't know if it's just me or everybody else. I heard what you said, this is your 21st year in marriage and God has helped you thus far.
Yes. So let me continue from there. I said that I got married in 2003, and to the glory of God, this is my 21st year. And so because as I said earlier, I prayed to God. I said, God, help me. I never grew up under a father to teach me how to be, or to groom me how to be a father in future. And here I am living in my future, what am I going to do? God, help me. And God has helped me. And also prayed to him when children started coming. Teach me how to be a father, because I never had one to direct me. I never had one to point the way forward for me, or to scold me, or to show me. Sometimes when I come around my uncles, they actually, one particular uncle, where is your father? And mind what you tell little children, because you see, the memory of children is so strong, because at the point, I mean, when they are growing up, they don't have much to worry about. So everything they see, everything they hear, everything they touch, even smell, has a place, a storehouse inside their brain. So I never forgot what that man, what that my uncle used to say. And I also sing, and to the glory of God, my face, as ugly as it is, has been seen on TV around Africa and around the world, either as advertising one product or the other, or singing, with doing collabos with different people, or doing my own stuff. And none of his children has ever appeared on TV. Well, this is not trying to sound prideful or something, no. But I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of, oh, somebody, a boy that was raised by a woman. So the point is, never give up. Don't let anybody's definition of you or whatever shit they throw at you become a defining moment or becomes your own definition. No, you try to prove people wrong, because God sent you to this earth, on purpose to fulfill a mission. And that has been my motivation. So I moved on from there to the professional angle, when I started working. I'm a voiceover artist, and a producer too. And so in Nigeria, there's this thing about ethnic biases. In every industry, you find it. Even in church, you find it there. Let's just call it spade a spade. But then, if you know who you are, if you just keep improving on your trade, and you become somebody that nobody that cannot be easily pushed aside, and that was what has helped me. Apart from my university education, I went to FRC and training school to better my trade in broadcasting, and to the glory of God, my voice has graced a lot of brands, local and international brands, and so despite the issue of people trying to discriminate because you're not from, especially if maybe the advertising agency producer who determines who to give a job, or maybe the board of directors. If you stand out, you've been able to hone your talent, nobody can push you aside. You become in a very strong point in whatever decision they take. So
yeah, Ambrose, apologies. Let me cut you here, but then I have a question because you shared several experiences. My question is, in all of
yes.
this, which was the most traumatizing event in your life, and what exact impact did it have the most?
Well, I'd say growing up, and that was what I started with. Growing up, not seeing them, yes, and it was. Sometimes I find myself alone. Some other people have gone to gone with their parents or their father to the farm, because I grew up in Delta State, in my hometown, and the Ocha local government area. So I find myself alone. When you go to the farm, your uncle begins to maltreat you. So sometimes I find myself alone, and I started wishing, if only I had a father. But then I turned it around and channeled my energies into sports and later music. And that was the turning point.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. That's a lot to digest. It turns around that we're all dealing with different forms of trauma, and then I think we'll move into the healing process. But then I would like to probably ask a few more people, because I want people to share. Let's hear what people think if this thing actually goes wrong. Because from what I've seen, It's like it goes round. My Lord Bishop is here. My Lord Bishop, good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
me, I wouldn't say I've had this kind of experience. I wouldn't say if it's because of my kind of upbringing. I grew up with this, will I call it, in quote, northern mentality because I grew up in the north where most things to us is back home, no wahala, So I've always had that kind of approach to life where I try to do what I'm supposed to do. If it backfires, then that is it. Life moves on. We don't take life too seriously and all that. But for me, I've met some people with that have gone through these traumatic stress and all that. My personal conviction is I believe most people that are in the Lord that study their Bible more often, that because for me, I feel if you handle it from the biblical point of view, I feel one will get healing more because I know those that are in the Lord, they have this joy of salvation, and when things go the other way around, you see them singing hymns, see them singing gospel songs, and you know, they are all lively, thereafter. So that was why I posted Psalms 46, where he says, God is our ever present help in time of trouble. Psalm 147, verse 3, where he says, He heals the brokenhearted, and He binds up their wounds, And for me, even Jesus Christ, after He died, He resurrected, He still has the scars. That is our scars there with Him. For a person that is in Christ, you know that Christ has your scars. There's really nothing to worry about. He said, cast all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. That is my own approach to life. And that is my own approach, and that is my own advice, to people that are going through this traumatic stress. Thank you.
thank you very much, my Lord Bishop. My Lord Bishop, you went all Christian on us today. That's that's very good. I agree with you in a lot of ways because that's where most of us get our succor and our healing from. But then when we're talking about traumatic experiences, we need to look at the long-term healing. The period of, first of all, really understanding, accepting that one has traumas before we now start progressing uh, to solutions. And these traumas, they express themselves in several ways. Now, let me put Joy on the spot. Let me put Joy on the spot. Joy, are you there? I'm putting you on the spot. Ready for this? Hello, Joy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so uh, does this reckon with women? Not the several ladies that are very conscious about their bodies, very conscious about anytime they are walking in a crowd, you know, very conscious about how men look at them, even conscious about their looks, all those things, and they are signs of trauma. Take, for instance, now the in thing now is nyash, and you see people going through, women going through all forms. Joy, never stop to laugh now because now I will say as you know you don't go do your own nyash. But before we get there, where do all these things come from? Where we see women in particular engage in extreme body makeovers, liposuction, uh, breast enlargement, hips enlargement. Even it's so bad that even they sell yash in the market now. like bleaching. Where do these things come from? I saw a tweet from Charles Inoji, the actor, earlier in the week, and he said, if you want to blow in Nollywood, just bleach and have yash. That you don't need to have talent. You know, these things are evident in our society. Are they signs of traumas? If yes, they are, how do we address them? And yeah, just diagnose it from a woman's perspective. Yeah.
This is really dicey in the sense that where do we say, okay, I just want to look good? There's a thin line between wanting to look good and putting all those externals to validate yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? For example, now, um, you see women doing extreme, what's it called now? This extreme bleaching, where the person is almost white. And you look at the before of that person, the person had a really good skin color, maybe caramel or brown, but the person feels, or the lady, since we're talking about women now, maybe feels like she would look better looking half cast white. Now, the thing is, why? So a lot of times people have traumatic experiences that alters their sense of self, how they see themselves. So maybe let's say, okay, let's talk about Toke Makinwa. She's a really she's a public a person of public interest, something like that. And I remember in her book, she wrote a book. She talked about how she went into bleaching because her ex-husband had an affair, and I think left her for somebody who was really fair-skinned in her book. So she wanted to win his affection, and so she um, took on bleaching. It's there in her book. So these are the things like a lot of these things. I'm not saying that there are women who don't just want to look good, but a lot of the time, these extreme makeovers that some women indulge in comes from a poor sense of self, comes from maybe she grew up not being validated, not being told that she was good enough, not being told that she was pretty enough. So you see this incidence of surgeries, going to add to your bum, breast enlargement, bust enlargement. Is it breast? Yeah, breast enlargement, bum enlargement, bleaching to the extreme, fixing your nose, fixing your like you just. And the thing about it is, as long as you do not treat the root cause, which is a poor sense of self, poor self-esteem, you will never be satisfied. There will always be something to fix. So I've said that a poor sense of self is part of the reasons why a lot of times some ladies go to the extreme trying to get validation. They want to be the center of attraction. They don't believe that they are beautiful enough. Sometimes you see some women who has had surgeries and you see the before and they're looking so beautiful and the after is looking some type of way. You wonder why. It's an altered perception. They don't feel that good enough unless they have certain features. Do you understand? So I feel like a lot of the time the healing starts from your mind. You have to first of all accept that okay, there's a problem. You have to start working on your mindset. If you don't work on your mind, you're never going to get to that point where you are happy and you are content and you start that journey of healing. So I feel like, because like I said, my own time, it was really easy for me to like isolate and not trust anybody ever again. Because for me, it was traumatic because I'm a very private person. So when I open up to you, it means that you're really special to me. And then you end up blabbing all over the place. So it would have been, I would have just, shut down and, built walls and not allow anybody coming. But I had to tell myself that there are good people. And I've had the privilege of knowing really good people who have been a blessing to me. So it's from the mind. You have to work on your sense of self. So I hope that answered your question. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Before we start looking at all the steps in the healing process, because I hope that this week we are promised that we're going to end early. It's always been, we have always overshot our schedule, but this time we hope to round off quickly. So I just really want us to look at the educational part of trauma. Now, I was talking with my friend Andy, and he was sharing an experience with me, you know, where we went to Futo, and Futo is a place where, especially in IPH, the system tries to make you feel dumb. You know, you hear things like, oh, A is reserved for the professor, B is reserved for this one. Then all of you can start sharing C's down. Like there's a deliberate uh, attempt to make you not pass. The system is designed in such a way that everybody is intimidating you. Lecturers intimidate you, student lecturers intimidate you, as against a system that encourages learning. For instance, Andy and I were having a conversation about a professor that was saying uh, he detained a student, he deliberately failed a student and made the student spend extra 3 years in school because the student said hi to him, greeted him by saying hi, you know. And then because of that, he felt offended that you did not greet him, you did not shake him with two hands. The man did not genuflect, the student did not genuflect, to show regard and honor. And then led to him detaining him in school for 3 years. 3 years. So when you put all these things together, that experience alone is enough to traumatize anybody. So I think that our system needs a rejigging. First, we need to understand how trauma actually affects us, affects how we live. You see people that are very conscious of their body, they can't walk on the road because they're always thinking, is this breast too big? Is it in people's face? Do I have to keep my face straight to walk? Several of these things. And I think that we really need to take a holistic look at our society to punctuate the importance of dealing with trauma. But then before we proceed, I think the best person to, throw light on this issue would be Dr. Adeogu to take us through the process of healing and see how, we can actually get to a point where we are totally healed. Dr. Adeogu, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been an interesting discussion. Yeah, everybody has spoken, we've all spoken well, and it's clear that we all experience trauma in different forms and in different ways at different times. Well, I quickly want to, emphasize the fact that trauma can also be generational, so people can actually transmit trauma from themselves to their children, and if care is not taken, even to their grandchildren. And I can give an example. For instance, a woman who has given her all into her marriage, has been committed, dedicated, and has been sacrificial in so many ways. And unfortunately, something happens in her marriage whereby the man opted out or actually followed another woman. And the woman is so bitter, so sad, always telling her children, your father is a useless man, your father just left us. You can see because of a woman, he has abandoned us. And look at where we are now, and this is a man that I've given my all to. This is a man I've sacrificed for. But you children, you're no more children, you can see what is going on. So especially you, the girls, just know that men are useless. They are useless. They have no value. And when you get married too, don't just put your all into any marriage because it's a 50-50 thing. She's now projecting her own pain to the female children. So the female children now, when they're old or they're adults, in their own relationships too, they would not be fully committed because they are living from a first-hand experience of what had happened to their mom. And they'll probably think, oh, I'm in this relationship with this man. And perhaps it may just be an innocent man who is a good man, who is committed, who is really serious about the relationship. But you will just see the lady still just aloof in the relationship. She will just tell herself, well, I cannot be committed fully because I don't know what to expect. My mom gave her all, and look at what she got in the process. And another thing that can also result from that kind of a family is that female children that were raised in such families may have a problem dealing with in-laws when they eventually get married. So if they get married, they've never seen their mom, interact with in-laws. They've never seen their mom take care of a mother-in-law, a father-in-law, a brother-in-law, because their mom has told them, look, your father's relations are bad. Your father is horrible. In fact, their whole lineage, nothing good will ever come out from them. So they are kind of ostracized from the lives of those children. So those kids, when they become adults too, even if they eventually become married, it will be tough for them to accommodate in-laws or to even see eye to eye with in-laws. And they would always be sleeping with one eye closed, thinking that their husband would do the same thing to them that their mother went through. So if care is not taken, if that trend is not broken or something is not done drastically to alter that status quo, the same thing will happen to the daughter's female children too, because it's just normal for you to pass on that trait that you got from a trusted person like a parent. When they tell you something, especially your parents, that this was their own experience, it stays long in you, becomes indelible, because your parents can mislead you. There's a particular trust a child has for the parents. So if you know that your parents had a particular kind of trauma, you will be so attentive to make sure that you don't experience something like that too. So talking of healing now, healing is something that, of course, just like physical healing too. You have a wound today, or a laceration today, a cut, and you come to the hospital, you get stitched up. It doesn't heal that day. It's a process, and the healing takes place from the inside out. So I think it's a very good analogy for emotional healing too. So the healing takes place on the inside before it's now reflected on the outside. So basically, a lot of people that have been having emotional issues, you would actually find them, needing a lot of support and time to heal. And they need an enabling environment to encourage them to heal. For instance, somebody who was assaulted, sexually assaulted, or even physically assaulted, in their formative years, would need a lot of support and love from an assuring partner, because you have to know that the partner you have is not like the experience you had in your past. Because you have to understand that you can trust people again, because of that trauma, you would have trust issues. Because most times people that get abused or violated or assaulted, that assault came from people that they trusted or people that were close to them. Most times it's not usually strangers. Well, a few times it could be strangers, but most times it hurts more because it's coming from somebody who is in a place of trust, and the person betrays both that trust and the confidence you have in them. So for you to now trust again and actually see that somebody else is coming into your life, not because of their selfish motive, but because of pure love, may be a bit hard. So people like that will have to have lots and lots of reassurances, lots and lots of love, validation, an enabling environment, a supportive and non-judgmental environment. Because another reason that a lot of people don't do well within, the healing process is because, a lot of them, they find out that people who they want to get the support from, would really betray them along the line again, either divulging their secrets, or you find out that they are not even as trustworthy as you thought they were, and that's, even shatters them the more. And it's almost like you inflicting another injury on an existing injury. So rather than the injury healing, another affliction of pain, comes into the picture. So it's very important for us to understand that people are going through a lot. It's good for us to be able to identify very quickly when people are hurting, even without talking, because it's possible if we look closely and we are very observant, we'll be able to tell the telltale signs are there for people who are trying to heal from a trauma. And the least we can all do is to render our support and our love and unconditional affection. And we should always be empathetic. And being empathetic means that you're putting yourself in the person's shoes, and anything you would not want to be done to you, you should not do it to the person who is trying to get healed, which includes being confidential when you should be, being supportive when you should be, being there for them, because they will certainly have times of flashbacks where those things will come back to them. It will look like they are breaking down, but you are there to reassure them, and you're there to show them the path to God, that ultimately, with God's help, they can overcome whatever the challenges are. To be honest, healing takes months or even sometimes years to be completed. So it's nothing that should be done in a hurry. And there are steps in overcoming these things. And those steps, you cannot jump one step and jump to the other step. Just like in a case of bereavement, somebody loses a loved one. There are some 5 steps of grief, that psychologists know about. And you cannot miss any of those 5 steps, because if you skip any of those 5 steps, you're likely not going to be healed, or you will not heal appropriately. For instance, somebody who is bereaved would first of all be in denial. There's a denial phase, which is normal. Then there is the anger phase. You're angry. Why is this happening? Why should it happen? You don't even know who to be angry at, if it is God, if it is the people around. You start, playing the blame game and all that. And then you have the bargaining. Okay, this has happened now, so what next? What are the options available? Then you have the depression, and the depression can linger for so long, especially when you don't have somebody that fits into that role or fits that vacuum to help you heal quickly. And then finally is the acceptance stage. Anybody that successfully gets to the acceptance stage understands that, okay, we're not denying that this did not happen. This actually happened. It was a painful experience, and you're talking to people who don't trivialize your pain is also very important. Because in the process of going for counseling, some people or some counselors, if they are inexperienced, they may trivialize the pain of another person. But people are different temperaments, different backgrounds. If you think what the person is complaining about isn't that serious, that is your own perspective of it. But to the person knows that they were hurt, they had a genuine pain, and you should acknowledge that pain. Acknowledge the pain. Don't ask them to deny it. Don't ask them to come out of it, earlier than they should. All you need to do is listen to them and support them as much as you can. And that is the way they can actually get to true freedom and true healing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adeogun. Yes, in all this, to recap the major points, for me, I think is the fact that he acknowledges that trauma can be generational. It can pass from generation to another generation. So we best be careful. I will just run through the steps to healing from trauma. We are running out of time. Unfortunately, time always runs fast on Unashamed Conversations. But here are the most important points when it comes to healing from trauma. Number one is acknowledge and accept the presence of trauma. Next is to seek support, get professional help, or find a counselor if possible, which is something that we found most at in this part of the country, where we really don't like the idea of, we really don't subscribe to the idea of seeing psychiatrists, but then these are very good things to, put in practice. It's a professional job. Most times pastors in this part of the globe, substitute for counselors, but it shouldn't be like that. Another thing is develop coping strategies. Also, you process the trauma. You need to use therapeutic techniques to go through the trauma and actually process what happened to you so that you can draw the patterns. When you see the patterns, then you can work on avoiding them. Next thing is to challenge the negative thoughts in your head and in your mind. Traumatic experiences often come or are often emboldened and put into sustained by negative thought patterns, which is something that we might need to fight against. Then another but most very important point in healing from traumatic experiences is the part where we get to forgive and let go. Forgiving and letting go is often very, very difficult, especially in terms in cases of molestation. But you just can't help it. Like when you hear stories of young girls that had pepper poured into their private parts by the people they love, it's such a traumatic event, but then you just have to forgive and let go because most of these things are things that were done in ignorance. So we have to be we have to do that soul searching and find energy to forgive. Another thing is the place of spiritual healing can not be overemphasized. Whichever religion you belong to, there must always be ways that our people, sages, wise men that you can talk to, and they're able to help you through the process of healing. As Christians, we firmly believe in the power of God, to heal. Like we have Mr. Unique posted something there in Psalm. Let me just read it out. Psalm 147 verse 3. It says, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up the wound. God heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. That's the place of spiritual healing. Another thing is, while you are healing, you don't want triggers. So you have to set up boundaries, to make sure that people don't have another opportunity to hurt you the same way you have been hurt before. That's very important. As you are healing, you don't want people to trigger you more, especially while you are healing, so that you don't have a relapse. Then reclaim your life and continue in the process of healing. Final steps. So thank you very much, Pretty Tari. I see you just came in. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Ndiwe. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you very much, Dr. Adego. And of course, if I don't thank the Joy, waiting again. Thank you very much, Joy, for being a part of this conversation. Thank you, KCP. KCP, thank you very much. I think your internet had issues. Were going on and off. Ambrose Mosi, thank you very much for your very enlightening experiences that you shared. I really appreciate. Mr. Unique, my Lord Bishop, all the way from America. Thank you. Ayamunisa joined in earlier on. Thank you. Lamek from Zambia joined in. Thank you very much all for making Unashamed Conversation another exciting episode. And we hope we will see you in the next 2 weeks, fortnightly. And we'll be having another something spicy is coming on. So keep your fingers crossed. But before we go, I pass the ball over to Joy. Joy, you got the floor.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. So before everyone goes, I'm sure you're wondering what is Unashamed Conversations? What are we all about? So Unashamed Conversations is from the stables of More Light Pictures. And More Light Pictures is a company that is committed to creating and promoting faith-based, clean, relatable, and society-transforming content. So please, I'd encourage every one of us to please follow us on our social media handles and spread the word, because there is enough filth on social media as it is, So we have decided to come out and saturate the social media space with clean, relatable content. At least be able to open your social media page and see something that is wholesome and it's edifying. So our social media handles, please follow us, is Facebook, More Like Pictures. If you have any questions or inquiries, you can send us a message on WhatsApp, +234 0806 0770549. Follow us on X, that is Twitter, at morelight_MIM. And for TikTok is More Light Ministry, at More Light Ministry. On IG is more_light pictures. That's IG. We have a lot of fantastic content. We have the Odogu skates, even our YouTube. Please go if you need to have check a recap of what we have done today. You can subscribe to our YouTube. It's More Like Ministry, More Like Ministry on YouTube. So thank you all so very much. Please follow our Instagram pages, follow our social media pages, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we also have the Odogu Skits. So please share our content, share, and let's saturate the media space with wholesome, transforming content. Thank you all very much. And we'll see you in the episode of Unashamed Conversations. God bless you all. Thank you. See you next time.
Talk about.
Thank you, and thank you again. See you next week. Next 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.